This is one story about the Port River, a tidal waterway on the east of Gulf St Vincent in South Australia. It's about a project aimed at ecosystem renewal. Can the community return historic shellfish diversity to this estuary habitat? The Port River Basin formed about 7,000 years ago from glacial meltwater that extended from south of Kangaroo Island northwards up Gulf St Vincent over thousands of years. On the eastern side of the Gulf, freshwater streams met the sea and tidal inlets formed, the Port River Basin being one of the largest to the north. Protective sand dunes occurred at the sea interface. At the Port Basin, this dune became a sand spit, pushing the river entry to the north and forming the thumb-shaped Lefevre Peninsula seaward to the river. On the Port River to Lefevre Peninsula interface, tidal creeks wove through mangroves. Their steep mudbanks led fresh water to the shallow, wide estuary mudflats. Indigenous people lived on the sandspit as it formed from 1,000 years ago. Their ancestors had witnessed the flooding of Gulf St Vincent. There was abundant food for them. Fish could be trapped in the mangrove root systems, crabs also, and shellfish such as cockles, mussels, periwinkles and mud oysters were found. These oysters, Ostrea angusi, lived on shellfish reefs that existed in some river locations. They became uncommon after European arrival. Did the European reshaping of the Port River remove these oysters? The gentle sloping tidal flats were dug out with hand tools to bring deep water next to hand-built wharf structures from 1860. The river bottom mud became the infill behind the wharves, so constructed buildings in the inner port sit some 5 metres above the tidal flat. For 180 years, the mangroves and mud have been taken along the length of the river. By 1954, no mud oysters were counted in the shellfish record. Did changed river water quality affect shellfish survival? Reshaping the river bottom altered the benthic communities. The stabilising seagrasses were removed and the once clear water became cloudy. For 150 years, shipping, industry and human effluent added nitrogen, phosphorus and a range of toxins. Algal blooms, occasional fish kills, ammonia toxicity and odours all occurred. Regulation action in the 1990s began a return to better water quality. By 2000, the inner port and Barker Inlet could be used for some recreation, such as sailing, canoeing and fishing. By 2016, nutrient levels were considered good enough to re-establish the swim through the port. Can reintroducing historic shellfish further improve water quality? The mud oysters of Indigenous accounts occurred in large numbers in subtidal Gulf St Vincent pre-1900s. This triangular to round-shaped bivalve attaches to hard substrates, commonly the shells of larger razorfish or shell debris of other species. As filter feeders, each day one Ostrea angusi removes organisms and particles from enough water to fill a bathtub. In large numbers, they could also concentrate and remove historic industrial burden as well as other toxins. Such oysters could not be eaten. How can we reintroduce the oysters to the river? Already much is known about Ostrea angusi. There are Indigenous accounts, old newspaper articles, historical records, published papers, reports and conversations with oyster farmers past and present in South Australia, elsewhere in Australia and in the world. Together with local residents and other community members, the Estuary Care Foundation of South Australia has used this knowledge for a pilot project. In June 2017, reproductive size Ostrea angusi were placed in 5 river sites and 1 Gulf St Vincent site. Each shell had been measured by community members who will trace their growth and survival. After just 3 weeks, a frill of 4 millimetres of shell had been added. So these oysters can form part of reimagining the Port River. As filter feeders, they and other shellfish, such as mussels and razor shells, can improve water quality. As part of subtidal reefs, they would protect river banks. Where to now? There is excitement to build new shellfish reefs in the estuary as others have done elsewhere. The goal is to help protect the inner port from storm events and sea level rise. Such subtidal reefs reduce wave effects on banks, and they can adapt to changes in long-term water level. Can we build shellfish reefs in the estuary to protect it?